You are about to hear from a woman who knows what it takes to find her voice in the workplace. Today, we're sitting down with Michelle, a global English language and communication trainer and founder of Cultivate. Michelle's unique approach is rooted in her own experiences as an Asian American woman from an immigrant family. She has helped countless non-native English-speaking professionals just like you step into their power and communicate with confidence in their careers. If you have ever felt like your voice wasn't heard, then this conversation is for you. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss out on our podcast episodes with incredible women.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first off, thank you for having me here. Very, very honored and excited. I also have no idea which one out of the two of you I'm talking to online ever. So I don't know if I connected with Taylor or Jeremy first, but regardless, yeah, you guys are both kind of this like morphed image when I speak to you online.
We're just
I
conjoined
Yeah,
twins.
exactly. Yeah, that should be your new logo, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, so I essentially did not, I'll just say that this was not a phase I necessarily thought I would be doing for the company. I really, really, really think I tried to not go online because there are so many things about the online world that I don't like. I don't like that everything gets watered down. I don't like that things get oversimplified and kind of into buzzword, catchphrase nonsense. So what really drove me to not only go online, right? Because you can create an account and just be like, and this is me, and this is the company. I was very clear that if I were to be there, I would be speaking my truth, my voice, right? So I have been on the wonderful journey of trying to figure out how much is too much and how much is that, like, good to have dialogue, but let's let's make sure that everyone understands that when I am speaking, there's always a purpose behind it, right?
Mm.
And I think that's where we connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I I'm kind of curious, like when you say always have a purpose with connection, what do you mean by that? Like there's a lot of people that I think they hear the word purpose and they think that there has to be a goal or like an
Um,
outcome or like, that they get something.
yeah.
What's your stance on that? What do you mean when you say like to communicate with purpose?
Oh, so I'm speaking no matter who it is, right? So whether it's somebody who could be a potential client of mine in the future, or if it's other colleagues in the industry, right? When I'm speaking, am I speaking to connect? Am I speaking to have real dialogue around issues that
Mm.
are going on in this day and age? Or am I just there because I want to do the little personal fanfare, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
that's what I mean by purpose. I want to make sure that every interaction is not, it might be about me, it might be about my personal life story, but
Mm.
it is there to serve a reason that then goes back into the dialogue. And then, you know what I mean? That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
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 And you bond with others that way.
Yeah.
I know you and I bonded a lot through Messenger.
Yeah.
I know that. So it feels like when somebody is learning with you or is just talking with you, they get you.
Yeah.
They get
That's my hope,
authentic
at
you.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the feeling I get when I speak with you. So
Yeah. I think it's also hard for me to, that's what I meant by trying to find the balance. I
yeah.
can't not be me. I have tried. It's just, it goes horribly. I start to, people tell me like, oh my God, it's so refreshing that you are so authentic, right? And I'm just thinking like, there's really no other way. So there is, if you want me to be that robot, like corporate robot almost, that's harder for me than to actually just be myself.
Yeah. It feels like you're wearing an itchy sweater all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I totally understand and I totally resonate with you there.
yeah,
And it's definitely hard too when you if you ever grew up not really knowing who you are. And
hmm,
so when you grow up and you're like you've suddenly started finding yourself, you don't know how to be anything else.
yeah, yeah. And that is something that I think took me, I don't think there's a sort of standard time frame, right?
Mm.
But people who are born into multiple different backgrounds, cultures, languages, countries, what have you, it's a process. We are in a really interesting time, I think, because there are so many different types of people who are in this online space talking, right?
Mm.
And English is that language that no matter where you live, no matter what your background is, this is the mode that we're all using, right, to communicate. And I think because I've personally had to go on that journey of figuring out who am I actually, and
Mm.
that answer has changed a lot as I've gotten older. It's not the same answer I would have even given 7, 10 years ago, right? So
Yeah.
I really feel I don't know, it's something that I think is so deep that I then felt personally, I don't know, invested enough to then come out in front of the, online world, the social media stuff, and just be like, okay, I think I want to inspire this for other people as well.
Yeah. And who would you say,
Absolutely.
if I could ask like that question, just because I know that for some of the people listening, they don't know you as well as we do. They don't quite
Mm.
understand your background. So based on like how you would introduce yourself today, like what do you feel that that introduction would be for you?
Yeah. I'll try to keep it short. I am an Asian American woman who, if you want to put it in the language space, right? I grew up as a native English and native Mandarin Chinese speaker. That is more than just what I think what it represents. I realized that that means actually so much, like that there is a gravity to that I didn't see until I was older. And what I thought was just going between, I don't know, being unofficial baby translator for my family or for my community, right? It actually meant literally bringing people from different parts of the world together. And then
Yeah.
later on, I mean, this is now we just like fast forward, right? So um, when I moved to Europe, let's just jump through the whole life, and then
Like, so I woke up in Europe.
yeah, I know exactly. One day, yeah, that's a story for a different time. But I also introduced French, the French language, as my third now everyday language. That brought in a whole different dimension for both parts of me, right? The
Mhm.
East and Western part. And I think, especially over the last 3 or so years, I think I've really been digging deep into that. I wouldn't put it as a part of my identity, let's say, but I have way more clarity now on who I am, what I do, what
Mhm.
my purpose is, at large.
Yeah, and
I love that.
what about your past or what about your experiences? Like you were talking about being like the baby translator and bringing people together. Um, what was the moment for you that made you go like, well, damn, I want to learn and teach communication. I want to,
Hmm.
this is my mission in life, as you put it.
Hmm. I will I will say that I don't think I've ever been anything else. Do you know what I mean? So,
Mm.
as unofficial baby translator, you are like that, you're born into that. And I was
Mm.
never really given a choice to not be that. And so, because I don't think the question for me personally was, when do I want to do this? It's, do I want to continue doing it?
Mm.
And I'm going to be really honest and say that I will sometimes make judgment calls when I'm out in society because I do speak all these different languages and I have the cultural understanding, specific to each language and my experiences whatsoever. I will decide whether or not I want to occupy that role relative to the situation at hand. I may not always step in, and that's
Mm.
a taking that control or that autonomy, I guess, is what I've had to decide as an adult. Not, and this is irrespective of what I'm doing with Cultivate and the company. It's more of, do I always want to be, even now I can say, oh yeah, I do communications training and I'm, this is like my everyday, right? This is my full-time
Mm.
job. I might just be on an airplane somewhere do I want to step into that role? You know, is that something that I actually want to be doing, or is it something that I feel is better left to other people? It's more complex, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, because we talked about your transition from baby translator to language teacher, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think separates you the most from other language teachers?
Or Cultivate in general, I guess,
Or
too.
Cultivate? Yeah, what
Yeah.
separates Cultivate from other programs?
I think the fact that I don't try to take language out of the natural conditions language and communication, right? I'm just kind of grouping them together, but I don't try to pretend that they don't exist inside of some sort of social context
Mm.
or some like non-human context. I think that there's a lot of this sanitization that's gone on in the language industry. And on the one hand, sure, when you are standardizing materials to try and I don't know, create a new program for, you know, pre-K or like K to 12, right? This type of standardization or sanitization might be necessary. However, I will not with my adult client learner, non-native speaking population who needs the English language in order to navigate their real life. I'm not going to pretend that real life doesn't exist. And I think that's what people sense when they work with me. I've gotten a lot of feedback of like, oh, you're different. Like, oh, there's something that's like not standard about you. And I think it's that, yeah, I don't try to take it out and I don't try to impose either. I try to see them from where they are, learn about where they are, learn about where they want to go, and just go along with them, right? As whatever I need to be. Sometimes I need to be more in that teaching, instructive side. Sometimes I need to be more of a mentor. Sometimes I need to be more of a guide. Sometimes I just need to sit back and listen and take notes for them, you know? So that adaptation.
No, it makes sense. And I also noticed that earlier you had mentioned that the watering down of information online, you know, how you're not a big fan of that, the sanitization of the material that's going on online. Um, so I guess I want to also ask, like, what do you believe are the drawbacks to those who are self-learning in that way, that they are just learning through reels or short form content with like online polyglots, expert, whatever it may be.
The teacher influencers.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
the teacher influencers. What do you feel are the drawbacks versus um, professionals who are that is their 9 to 5 working on communication? What do you think's the big difference?
I'm going to give a very diplomatic response first and say that I think everyone serves a place, right? And a role, and everybody, and we can't know who is going to match up best with anyone else. So we can't say that uh, you know, I have my own preferences, I have my own opinions on things, but I'm not going to say that teacher influencers are categorically bad just because they exist,
Totally.
because they create content I can't create and I don't have time to create because I'm doing a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that they're, you know, putting on different outfits and editing videos together so that they can access people at different stages on their journey, right?
Yeah.
So I think there are, you know, to broad diplomatic, you know, like, you know, disclaimer first.
There are pros and cons.
Yeah, yeah. The cons, I think, is the over reliance on those kind of the fast food material, right? That we can access online. And
instant gratification.
Yeah, this sort of packaging of language as if it is something that it is a list to be memorized or a even if it's about cultural appreciation, I want to learn more about this culture. Language and culture don't always go hand in hand, and culture we can't even say is like one container, right? Like what is it actually, and how can we be, I don't know, it's like a deep thing, right? How can we be talking in such oversimplifications in the year of 2024 when we know so much more? I mean, we are not only more educated, but we are more connected as a world, and we are more complex, I think, as humans in our interactions. How can we seriously believe that this is sufficient inside the industry? So I think that's the drawback, that it's the over reliance, right?
Yeah. And I I agree with you 100 on the pros and the cons. Like you said,
Mm.
there are a lot of teacher influencers who are creating a lot of valuable content.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes, like you were saying, it's the problem is over reliance on just that
Mhm.
and not mixing in anything else and
Right.
kind of taking one influencer's words as Bible,
Mm. Yeah.
100% true, and
Right.
then closing yourself off to other perspectives. For
Right.
example, the one thing that bothers me is don't say very, say this.
Mm.
I'm like, you can totally say very. It causes a little confusion. So
Right.
that's my thing is I don't like it when confusion is caused
Mhm.
by speaking something that's subjective
Mhm.
as if it's objective, uh,
Yeah.
like it's complete fact. But I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
I am.
I'm curious, do you feel that that's where learners go like quote unquote wrong when it comes to like they feel this burnout or this plateau in their language journey? Do you think that that's because of the over reliance on those types of that type of content, or is there something else at play when they hit that plateau?
I think that this has been a problem before, even before technology, right? And
Mhm.
technology as we live and know it today. So this, we have to be looking at where the industry started, like
Mhm.
X number of years ago, so centuries and millennia ago, and how it's been just forever inside of this old model of, okay, there are those who have, this as a language, and they are what the ultimate native speakers, right? And
Mhm.
so this is the image, and we want to be that. So let's go and try to learn from them or learn from those who have been in closest proximity to them. This, I mean, I can't speak for the last 2000 years of whatever, but I can say that we haven't gone very far, right? We are still inside of that. It's an over reliance on what we believe are experts and therefore experts of the field being experts of our life, right? And I
Mhm.
don't think when I talk about empowering the average learner or the average non-native speaker, it's not a I want to make you feel good, so I want to empower you. Like that's not the idea at all. It's more of, do you know that nobody can tell you except for you yourself where you're supposed to go with this? No, you can ask other people for their opinions. You can contract in or, sign up to work with you guys, to work with me, to work with whomever. But at the end of the day, it's your journey. And
Yeah.
I just don't think that the industry is reflecting that back to the learner population. I don't put it on
Yeah.
them, actually. I put it on professionals.
Right.
Yeah. I think guidance is great if
Mhm.
that's what you're working toward. If you're working towards something that you need help, you need somebody to hold your hand, you need that coaching, and you need somebody that you can always ask those difficult questions to. It's really important. But also, I know that not everybody's journey looks the same.
Mhm.
Some people learn all of their English from friends.
Yeah.
You know, some people learn all of their English from a textbook. I don't live that experience. So, um, but I know that everybody needs different things. And there's not a one size fits all English
No.
journey
Mm-mm.
for
I
anybody.
mean, does that work in any way for any discipline or any subject?
I don't think so.
Right? Math, okay, math is one of these things that everyone's like, oh, I was so bad at math. And yet, also that you weren't bad at all types of math, right? We all
Mhm.
Right.
had different strengths and weaknesses, and the same with science, the same with
I can
art, the
count
same
money.
with, right? So it's like this type of, again, it's the packaging, or it's, I don't know, it's an oversimplification again and
Hmm.
again of why is it that for language, which is the like arguably most relevant, most like necessary skill, right?
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
communication, for daily use. I mean, you may not be counting money every single day. I'm not calculating tip all the time, right? So this type of skill, it's the most usable skill. And
Right.
yet we're not going into naturalistic environments, real life environments. We are still trying to look for guidance that can't exist because we need to give ourselves the guidance. We need to be, I often talk about it like you need to write your own book because it's almost as though, and this comes from people asking me, okay,
Mm,
what do you think I should do next? What do you think, where do you think I should go? I can tell you what I think, but that doesn't mean do what I say,
right.
Yeah.
right? That's the conversation we need to have and be clear on, that I'm giving you guidance, I'm giving you my professional and or personal opinion at times. You still need to be in that decision-making power zone
Yeah.
to then take yourself, to the next step and the next.
Right.
It's just like with our program personally, we say immediately, it's not a magic pill.
Mhm.
It's not a magic pill that you just, enroll and suddenly, boom, transformation.
Yeah.
You actually, you have to put in the work, and you have to, if you want the transformation that we're promising, you do have to do your part. You do have to be open to advice. And that's why we're so picky with who we allow into our program, because we know for a fact that not everybody learns the same way. And
Um,
so, yeah.
Yeah.
if I can actually ask kind of a I guess this is more kind of like a philosophical question or
Love the
like
philosophical questions. I'm gonna
you
take
know
a
the
flip there.
where
We're in
I
good company.
yeah, I don't think we have any data to like prove what we're going to give, but at the same time, I am kind of curious. You made a very good point that communication is, if not the most important, then one of the most important skills that a person can have, especially if you've moved to a different country, you're in a that type of language position. You're going to need to know how to communicate, not just the words, but the cultural nuances, the body language, the reading of the body language, and everything. So, if this is such a necessary skill, why is it that we see fewer and fewer professionals like us, like those like us who are doing that one-to-one or group coaching, and we instead see more people just building the monthly academy or like the platform where you
Subscription
can
based.
subscription-based things where it's really not about the person, it's about the numbers. Why do we see that mentality on such an important skill set?
Yeah. A lot of it's very hands off, build it, sell it, walk away from it.
Mhm. I think if I speak really honestly about the work I do every day, it's exhausting, right?
Mm.
So it is not just exhausting. I don't think anybody really knows what you guys probably know, but other people don't know what I actually go through energetically and the stamina that's required to actually do this job. And you don't get paid a lot. Even if I were to triple my prices, I mean, I've worked in some very high paying fields before. This is a far cry from some of my my turnover from life.
We're not
However,
known for our
I
Lamborghinis, that's for
Yeah.
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
We're not known
Yeah.
for being the
So
most well
yeah.
off.
So I think it's on the one hand, you can't fault people. I actually don't fault people who do the monthly subscriptions. And
Yeah.
if I'm in full transparency, I'm building something that's going to be next year. Not an academy, not a vault. I'm trying
Mm.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
avoid those terms, but like something, a resource bank that people can access, something that is
I
going to be
like
a
that.
supplement,
I
right,
like that.
to
I
what,
like the
yeah,
resource bank.
right, yeah, something like a repository of knowledge. Yeah, so
A
I'm trying
repository.
to I'm trying to find ways that balance my personal needs as a human, and because I will burn out so quickly. I mean, I
Mm.
have burned out in my life multiple times. I'm trying not to repeat it for a fourth time because I believe so much in what this work is about. At the same time, I know what you mean about the people who are trying to sell a method and then say, like, if you, what is it? Like, if you learn these 10 things, then you will definitely be a native speaker by X number of weeks, right? That sort of
Mm.
Yeah.
issue. I can't validate
I
that, right?
love it when they
Yeah.
lie like that.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be a
Yeah.
native speaker. No,
Yeah.
no.
I'm a native speaker with X number of years of experience. Have you seen that? It's like, like someone's like 25 and therefore they're like, I have 25 years of native speaking experience. So I'm
Their
like, you
whole-
can't
their whole
seriously
age.
be doing, yeah, exactly. Like from baby, I've been doing it. I can't take it.
I've
But
been speaking
yeah,
English since I was 1.
I know.
Oh,
It's
I
like,
actually did have
uh,
I did have someone I was interviewing at one point and they did pull that. They were like, "Well, I have almost 30 years of English experience." I went, "Perfect. How many tenses are there in the English language?"
yeah.
And they went, 3." Like, "Thank you for your time. Have a
Past,
good day."
present, future.
There are 12.
Yeah.
Funny enough, a lot of native English speakers don't know
Yeah.
that there are 12 tenses
Yeah.
in the
I mean,
English language.
can I ask you guys, because I, as this, I was confused. Not confused, just caught between identity for a long time of my early life, right? And
Mm.
when did you guys start to realize that? I don't know if it was when you decided to go more into the field, or were you explicitly taught tenses, grammar? Do you remember that? And also, US education is really,
Yeah.
I think we need to have a whole educational like workshop on how it works,
Big ol'
because
rehaul.
people seem to think we're under a standardized model, which we're not. So
No.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Sorry, did you want to go first?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So I do remember having in English class, I do remember having little worksheets and stuff on which tense is this one, circle the right tense, you know. But I never learned the skill when I was younger in school. I never learned the skill, what tense is this in?
Mm,
I learned past, present, future.
mm,
It wasn't until I was a teacher that
mm,
I learned how to identify the exact tenses. Like, oh, that's present perfect. That's you know, the continuous. And
right.
I remembered like there was probably like a week of focus on that in school,
Mhm.
Yeah, and with
but I
mine,
never had grammar drills like
Yeah.
English learners do.
yeah, I never
Yeah.
had grammar drills either. Now, granted, I grew up in a rural part of Utah, and so I'm literally talking like one street. We got lucky when the Walmart came into our town, type of thing.
Yeah.
And
But we had
so,
a gas station.
but we did have like 2 gas stations. We were one of them fancy small areas. But my education was very much, not the greatest. Because I remember my English teacher actually didn't speak the language articulately, and so
Mhm.
um it was one of those things where it's like, I don't even understand you, but you're teaching me grammar and
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I know that with, for example, idioms, and I say this all the time when I had students who would want to learn more idioms, I say, I
Mhm.
never sat down with idioms. I
Mm,
never, ever, ever,
mm.
I don't know
Yep.
anybody who did sit down and learn idioms in class.
Yeah.
I never,
Yeah.
you just heard them. You
Yeah.
heard them and you go, wait, what is that? You didn't even ask really. You just kind of like filled in the blanks in
Right.
your mind based on context.
Right.
But yeah.
you
Yeah, I
repeat
think
them
that's
from the friends.
something, we were privileged enough to be born into or raised inside of these environments where we were able to absorb all these expressions, right?
Right.
That's the standard that everybody loves and wants. At the same time, why are we deviating from this model, right? If it just logically, if it makes sense that you need to be inside an environment that then facilitates the natural ways that you might as a person learn, why does it change when we start to, and I speak maybe on behalf of those who are in the field but are native English speaking,
Mm.
why do you then try to make a list of 25 idioms and make everybody do these exercises that they're not going to remember after the 2 months that you've essentially wasted, right?
Right.
Why do you treat people differently just because their native language is not English? I'm not saying that it's not helpful to have these guides. I personally send them, and that's why Resource Bank, right? Like this
Yeah.
is what we're going to be doing. I actually have great ideas, I think, I'm going to talk to you guys about some stuff later.
Yeah.
But truthfully, I'm surprised. I think at that shift that's done by, yeah, so you're here, you're a native speaking person, you're in your normal life, and then you step into a classroom and you're like, okay, question one, blah, blah, blah. Who can tell me this? Who can do, and why does it have to be that?
Mm.
It's a rhetorical question. I don't expect an answer.
Well, you're doing drill, drill, drill. And
Yeah.
for the ESL learner, it's hard because when you're in school learning, it's drill, 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 drill.
Yeah.
Shh, don't talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't actually learn how to have a conversation.
No,
You
the
learn
amount of
to
people.
parrot.
Yeah. And the amount of people who will say, because again, I only work with adults, and that's very specific to who I am as a person. I've tried a lot of things. But
I feel you. I worked with kids, and there's a reason I don't anymore.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
yeah. It takes a lot out of you. Yeah. But I will say with adults, we act as though just because their native language isn't English, they somehow don't have the cognitive complexity to understand concepts. And that is so logically false and just so wrong in so many
Right.
ways. When we try to treat I don't know, we try to equate someone's language level as their ability to think level, right? Their cognitive level,
Yes.
their skill level. That's a huge misstep. And I do think that's where a lot of my personal gripes are with the field, and why I had that whole post on why I don't even really talk about language level when I work with someone. I have a TEFL certification, so I know how to, we all know how to do this, right? We all know how to go through the evaluation, the standard stuff, but I don't find it very useful because at a certain point, that level is just telling me how they're doing on the exercises that I've given them. It's not telling me what they actually need for real life. It's not telling them what they need for real life either,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love that.
I agree.
So, oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, you're good. I was actually just going to ask, I know that you are a person who is always learning, always trying to get better, or someone who's very resilient. And so I was just kind of curious for the ladies who are here listening in, I'm curious, like, what piece of literature or a song or a quote, anything like that,
Podcast.
a podcast. What do you find really helps you when it comes to your learning and kind of in those fields?
It's recommendation time.
Oh, I don't know. At this point, I'm actually so busy that I haven't been, guys, I haven't been cultivating my own learning as much, but I am, I think okay, rather than just say, oh, I would recommend TED Talks, because I think that for me, that really helped facilitate my growth and my voice. I didn't always speak like this, by the way. I didn't always have this personality either. I was at one point for a long time in life very shy, very scared, very intimidated, because I was also taught that that was part of my identity as an Asian woman. And so
Submissive.
yes, exactly. And so it just, so when I finally found my voice, and that was through many different influences, I would say that it's more about engaging in dialogue with people rather than just taking things in. So my personal network is so massive and diverse, not just in, ethnic background and whatnot. It's just the diversity of thought is so presently there that I think that is the key. I think no matter, where I go in life.
Absolutely. So just
like
having that diversity of thought around you at all times.
Having more, being open to more opinions, more perspectives, and building a strong network.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
And where can people find you online? Like if they want to learn from you or to eat your material, whatever it may be.
If people are really intrigued by you and they want more Michelle, more Cultivate, where can
We'll
they go?
of course put all of your links in in the descriptions and whatnot.
They can find me it's the same everywhere. So it's wecultivate.world. That is the website. That is the Instagram handle. That's on everything, because I knew that I needed to have one name.
I love it.
Smart.
I love it.
We got stuck with that actually. Most of our things married to English, we got that, but on Instagram, No, we
We
had
had
to
to
do
do
the
the
married underscore to
Oh.
Is
underscore.
that why? Because
That's why
there's
we have
also
underscores.
Oh, somebody already has the other
Yeah, it was like
what?
someone, and it was like
It
married
could
to
be
English, and it was like a couple who's now divorced. Like,
so it's not even an active account.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
God.
give me your username.
yeah, I want your
Yeah.
username.
Yeah.
Michelle, it's been great having you here. Of course, we are about to open our private Q&A with our ladies here that are listening, but let's say goodbye to the public.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you've been listening and thinking, I want to be part of these conversations, I want to ask my own questions and connect with other women who are on the same path, this is your invitation. Inside the Resourceful English Method program for women, you get to join live calls just like this one with incredible guest speakers and have your voice heard. If you'd like to know more, use the link in the description below to speak with us directly. We would love to discuss your English goals with you. And before we go, if this conversation resonated with you, drop a comment or share your biggest takeaway with us. We love hearing from you. Bye.